Hi everybody. So nice to be here on the Global Light broadcast for October. Let's get into it. I've got a lot that I want to talk about today. So my segment today is going to be about sabotage, particularly self-sabotage. What is it? How does this happen? Why are so many of us looped in this self-sabotage pattern without even realizing it? It's unconscious versus success. Versus living that life that you want to be living. Are you making enough money? Are you happy in your relationship? Are things joyously coming into your experience? Do you wake up enthusiastic each day? Or are you waking up living the same mediocrity over and over and over again and justifying it by saying this is the way the world is now? Because here's the difference. You can thrive in these times, whether it's economic impairment, whether it's climate impairment, you can be, and you came to be, someone who would thrive through it and help others and show them the way and have those ideas flowing in, that deep connection with the universe, that divine problem-solving intelligence within you. That's what we call it in hypnotherapy. That divine problem-solving intelligence is always working, always flowing information to you. But whether or not you are able to receive it depends on the conditioning of your mind. So what is sabotage? How does it occur within us? Did you know that most of the beliefs that you carry unconsciously are not your own? Think about that. Did you know that when it came to learning, this was something I thought was fascinating when I learned it. We used to learn laterally in schools. So we would sit in a circle. The teacher would walk around the circle or be in the center of the circle, and it was based on the concept that you had something to teach me and I had something that I could teach you, and we all were valuable and we all learned together. This is how tests were. This is how we learned in school. And when that changed was when they realized that through military training, it was more likely that we would be obedient. We would not question if we learned in rows with an authority figure at the front of the room, teaching, dictating, telling us what we must learn. Now keep in mind, those intentions were good. That was to keep people safe. You were going into military operations where everybody needed to work like one single-celled unit. So it was very important that there was a command and a response. But that shifted into the education system, which really sort of trained us away from our instincts, didn't it? It trained us into tell us what to do and we will behave. Now, think about nature. Nature lives on instinct, right? They don't analyze anything. They don't decide whether or not which path to the water is the right path and do they deserve the water or not. They don't analyze their environment. They live purely on instinct. And humans are designed to follow that guidance, right? That divine problem-solving intelligence, that higher part of ourselves that's connected to everything, that's constantly giving us solutions, constantly delivering us what we want, what we desire. This is supposed to be a really juicy experience being a human. We're supposed to be learning from our creation process and fine-tuning it and getting what we want, and then having another goal, and then helping others thrive too, right? Doesn't that resonate? Doesn't that feel right within you? But then why is it that you're not? Because it's been trained out of you, really, and that no judgment there, just observation. And your beliefs really were modeled to you is the point. They were modeled by teachers. Learn. Your authority figure tells you something, that becomes your truth. So growing up in my house, when it came to election time, there was a sign on our front lawn and my dad told us how we were voting. That was just how it was. We didn't question that. It was just, well, okay, this is how we're voting. So well-meaning, wanting, his opinion to make sure that it was represented because that's who he felt was the right party that was going to do right by us. But what did it teach us? as children? What did it teach us as young adults? That someone else was going to make your decision and that you would follow through. So that became your belief. And then there would be questions and you could share information and then you were convinced that that was the right way to go. So think about how your parents or your guardians modeled to you. And if you really start to look at it, all the opinions you have about the world, about economy, about relationships, about right behavior, wrong behavior, are they your original thoughts? Are they yours? Because chances are, most of them, 90 to 95% of them, are not yours. They were modeled to you and became yours. And so, if they are not modeled by those deeply connected to their higher selves, following that guidance, we are now taking on opinions and beliefs that are coming from a place of lack, a place of fear, a place of worry, a place of control, fill in the blank. Again, all with the best intentions, with love, with wanting to make the world a better place based on their beliefs. But have you discovered your own? Now, this can go back long before we're reasoning and having a rational mind. This can go all the way back to natal, to when you're in the womb. What do you know about the circumstances of your birth? So think about this, for example. Say mom and dad got pregnant and it was an oops baby. And it was a big surprise. And they were very excited and happy that you were conceived. But they were also very scared. How are we going to come up with the money? We are just managing right now. We do not have the money to move to a bigger place, and we need to have a bigger place if we're having a baby. Or we weren't we've raised our children. We weren't going to have another child. We don't have the money for another child. You in the womb, in pure consciousness before physical form, are so empathic. You are hearing and feeling everything that mom is feeling. You are hearing and feeling everything that dad is expressing. And you are taking that all in. Think about that for a minute. Do you make decisions as a soul at that point? I'm going to help mom. I'm going to take care of mom. Mom's not doing well on her own. Is mom depressed? Are you going to be there to help mom so you become the mom figure and you take care of mom through your life and take on a lot of responsibility that doesn't feel right for you, but that's your job. That's what you do. You decided that in the womb. There's some unraveling there to be done. Imagine compounding throughout your life a subconscious belief that there's never enough money or that you really have to take care of other people. They need you. How does that play out through your manifestation process in your life? Think about your beliefs. Where did you pick them up? Are they your own? Because the subconscious mind, this is the piece I really want you to understand, that the difference between living a life of success versus sabotage, or sabotage coming from lack, comes down to the thoughts that you're thinking over time that you've created strong beliefs around that may not even be your own. Most likely they are not your own. And the more negative they are in nature, the less you're living what you want to be living. And you feel like you can't break it. And here's why. It's not your fault. One, you inherited it. Two, it's compounded over time, so it's just become a strong belief. It feels like you. It doesn't feel separate. It feels like truth. And the subconscious mind groups things together, and it follows the dominant. The dominant belief becomes the manifestation. It goes out and orchestrates everything to validate that belief, that programming. Because we are projecting all day long from those beliefs and then attracting back people, places, and things that validate the programming, which is why we keep thinking we're right. See, that just happened. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. This is what the world is like. But is that really what the world is like for everyone? Or is that what the world is like just for you? It's just for you. And it's changeable. It's absolutely 100% changeable. And it It has nothing to do with your worth. We have to really get that ego out of the way, because we tend to justify it in order to be right, so we don't look like we failed or there's something intrinsically wrong with us. So then we are just constantly in this unconscious loop that we can't get out of. And here's the thing, you can't outwill your programming. You can try, but you can't. So I want you to start to think, every conversation that you have with other people, everything you say, the thoughts and things that you say are instructions for your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind hears everything as you say as an instruction. Now let's expand on that a little bit for a minute. So if we are trying to help the world thrive, we have to start by thriving ourselves, don't we? And we can't do that if we keep listening to everything coming at us that's bad. Now, if we are connected to that divine problem-solving intelligence, we're going to have creativity flowing in. We're going to get ideas that are going to help the planet, help the economy. We're going to be on the specter of feeling inspired and feeling enthusiastic and manifesting the things that we need, the resources, while living a happy life. We're contributing and feeling good about it. But if we're just talking about what's coming and how bad it is, and thinking that we're going to be able to meditate our way through it, are we really contributing, or are we contributing to the lack? Because here's something I want you to consider. The universe expands when you expand. So if you thrive abundantly, the universe expands with that thriving, with that abundance. And then you have resources coming in. Then you have ideas and creativity coming in. And then you are consciously creating through a way of positive thriving. Does that make sense? But if we are just talking about what is all the time, then we are contributing to the contraction. We are actually contributing to more of what we do not want. So we really have to hone in our focus and decide how we are going to utilize our relationship with our subconscious mind. Because if you're not attracting into your life what it is that you want to be experiencing, you've got beliefs in the way. How do you change those beliefs? You have to work with your subconscious mind. You have to understand what your programming is, and it's different for everybody, because your life experience is different than my life experience, is different from your friend's life experience. You have to understand what you picked up, where you picked it up, change it, and consciously work with the new changes, because our current present moment is just the past over and over and over again to justify those beliefs unless you're changing them. That's why I asked you last month, if you saw my segment last month, when I said, if you don't have what you want, your mind believes you don't want it, right? Your subconscious mind is never going to let you run crossways of your core values. It is always going to try to move you away from pain and towards pleasure. But if you've got thoughts that are dominant, beliefs in your subconscious mind that says, people hurt me, relationships are not safe for me, I'm not going to get anywhere near opening up other people. Spiritual work doesn't really pay off. You can't thrive doing spiritual work. You can't make a lot of money doing that. You need to get a higher education for this or that. It is your beliefs that are in the way, and then you justify it, project it out, attract back that which validates it. You are your own beautiful ecosystem. You are your own creation machine. And if you're not living what you want to be living, then you've got to rework the instructions you are giving your subconscious mind. So let's talk about that for a minute. Out of the day, we are awake for 14 to 16 hours out of the day? How much time legitimately in those 16 hours are you spending focused on what you want? Are you working with your subconscious mind, giving it the instructions of what you want to happen next? Instead of just regurgitating the past out, because science has shown us, and I've said this many times, I'm going to keep saying it until it really sinks in. Science has shown us that most of our thoughts every day are the same thoughts we thought yesterday and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. It's an unconscious loop. And we think it's just a brand new day. But those thoughts are the same. And so what you are living right now is nothing more than the manifestations of the thoughts that you've already had that are now showing up in your experience. So if you want to be living a different experience, you must change your thoughts and beliefs around it in a way that consciously you think it, right? Because I want you to think of your conscious mind as the pen, right? It writes down what you want, conscious thoughts. The subconscious mind is like if you were to take a photograph, the subconscious mind is where the picture is imprinted, and then it's reflected out in your reality. So the conscious mind is the thinker, it's the pen, and the subconscious mind is the doer. It then takes the instruction and goes to work creating all of the circumstances to have the experience in your manifested form. So we have to consciously change what we believe. That's why I asked you if you had a goal statement. Did you come up with a goal statement since last month? Are you actively doing something about the segments that I bring? Are you working with them in a way that you decide what you want? And then you start to work with it every day in a positive, progressive way, knowing that it's coming to you. And do you stay focused on it, right? You have to be living in the future, expecting it joyously, enjoying this ride to the creation process of it, feeling it. The subconscious mind is all about picture consciousness, and it's very literal. It thinks like a fifth grader. So you have to tell it what you want, and you have to imagine it happening, because it does not know the difference. If I told you to close your eyes right now and imagine biting in to this half freshly cut, I cut a lemon in half, it's juicy, it's sour, and you took a big bite of that half a lemon and filled your mouth with all that sour lemon juice, your salivary glands just started to excrete liquid in your mouth, didn't they? Because your subconscious mind does not know that you didn't actually just bite into a lemon, and your body responds. So this is how healing takes place. This is how we attract people, places, and things to us that we want. How much time out of 16 hours, if we're honest, are you really focused on what you want and actively working with it? Or are you just sort of randomly talking about everything that is, and then spending a few minutes on what you wish you could have, and then moments later negating it? That's what I find most people do. We consciously say what we want, and within minutes, we negate it. Because of this, because of this, because of this. That's re-justifying over and over and over again your programming. Does that make sense? So, one of the biggest blocks to wealth is our constant attention and judgment towards those that have more. The focus is on lack, right? It's on lack versus prosperity. Now, I know there's an imbalance in the world, but if we can find a way to celebrate it, celebrate the manifestations of the ideas and the creativity and the conveniences it has brought forward, even if you're not in a whole 100% agreement with all of the other pieces of it. If you want more in your life, you can't be cross ways of the creation process. You have to look at the understanding that if you came up with all kinds of ideas for your business to expand, the universe would expand and support you. And what you do with that contributes to the whole. You have to be on the belief spectrum of prosperity. And we don't do that. The news certainly doesn't do that. Our conversations don't do that. We justify our lack by blaming and shaming. And you have to understand that the moment you're focusing negatively on anything else that's going on out there and not celebrating it, you are not adjusting or affecting them. You are absolutely self-sabotaging your own success. Does that make sense? So we have to find a way to consciously start really celebrating the abundance and the affluence and the ability and our connection and that divine problem-solving intelligence that knows everything that we want, and it's trying to deliver it to us, but we have to stay in resonance with it. We have to reprogram our subconscious beliefs to stay the course with what we want until it manifests. And we don't have to stay focused on the heavy-duty, big, bad stuff, but we do have to be working every day for more than just a few minutes. When you think 16 hours a day, how much of that is spent unconsciously in lack, complaining, or in fear, or justifying it by what you see in front of you? What you see in front of you is just a collective thoughts projected out into present moment. So you got to get out in front of that into your future. Decide what you want. Work with it consciously. Expect it and bring it right into your experience. And then the next one. And then the next one. This is all very possible. It's happening all the time. This is how we heal. This is how we make our relationships healthy. This is how we book in more clients. This is how we make more money. This is how our businesses expand into new things that we're joyous about and excited about. It's you. It has nothing to do with what the collective is saying is happening. You. Why are there people who thrive through times of the worst economic depression? Why and how? It's not because they're just the lucky few. It's not because they know something you don't know. Well, they do. They know one thing. They know that their expectations and their comfort around money and affluence, they're comfortable with it. They're in resonance with it. They expect it to come. It comes. How can you start to adjust yourself to be in alignment with what you want? Right? This is where in hypnotherapy, we have to get in and change the programming and the beliefs. We usually source them way back and they're not even your own. And we do some work and then we really get sharp on what you want and we deliver it, right? In the late 1930s, there was a doctor in France. His name was Dr. Émile Coué. He was a medical doctor. He started studying, back then it was called hypnosis, not hypnotherapy. Hypnosis back then, before Mesmer, was all about what was done to you. So it was someone else that had this special gift that did it to you. And one day in his office, he had a patient who was coming to see him for a very severe speech impediment. He stuttered. He put the gentleman into hypnosis, and then the nurse came in and told him there was an emergency in another room. He left to deal with the emergency. He had been working with this client before. The client was sophisticated enough in hypnosis that he knew that he could count himself out if something, if he got uncomfortable or the doctor wasn't back in time. So Dr. Coué forgot all about him. He was gone for 45 minutes. He dealt with the emergency, came back into the room fully expecting to see his patient sitting up to tell him about, what had happened while he was absent, but he wasn't. He was still lying down and he was still in hypnosis. So Dr. Coué brought him out of hypnosis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fully alert, counted him out and asked him, why didn't you bring yourself out when I was gone for so long? And the man said to him without a single stutter, I thought you wanted me to stay here until I healed myself. And at that moment, a big realization came into play that changed the trajectory of hypnosis into hypnotherapy, the realization of autosuggestion, what we call autosuggestion. It means it's not something I do to you. It's something you deliver. Your subconscious mind listens to everything you think and say as an instruction. It's there to keep you safe. It's there to create the reality out in front of you. Now, at that point, when he realized that, Dr. Coué then went on to specialize in stage 4 cancer patients. These are people that were basically told, we can keep you comfortable, we can manage your pain, you don't have long, get your affairs in order, you will not survive this. And back in the late 30s and early 40s, there was no chemotherapy, there was no alternative, there was no radiation, there was no treatment. And he had a 93% success rate, full remission, never returned. These people got their lives back. Why? because they decided to focus on what they wanted, work with it consciously, knowing that the more they worked with the instruction of their subconscious mind, the subconscious mind governs the body, governs the autonomic nervous system. Your body knows how to heal itself. Infinite intelligence knows every cell that created you and how you were formed. It knows how to heal you. That your healing is not what's in the way. Your belief systems are what's in the way. Your dominant subconscious beliefs are what's running the show. You got to get in there and change that around. And there is nothing that you cannot have. There is nothing that you cannot achieve. Absolutely nothing. You can heal. Doctors told me I was not going to be able to heal my Hashimoto's because they say it's incurable. Well, when I get blood work done now, this was as of the last 2 years now, I have consistent blood work that shows I have antibodies for Hashimoto's, but nothing is active. Basically, it says, well, you've got a little mark in your blood that says you've had this, but there is no activity. Well, I call that healing, don't you? I call that curing, don't you? So to me, I healed my Hashimoto's. I no longer have symptoms of Hashimoto's when they said that wasn't possible. It would have to all be managed and for the rest of my life. Your body knows how to heal you. Your subconscious mind knows how to set up every scenario for your success, for your healing business, for your ability to connect and share your gifts with the world. This is how we collectively expand and move towards all the things that we want. People thriving. We've been trained to step away from our instincts and our ability to create our reality. We as humans are given the deepest gift, more than any other being on this planet. We have the ability to decipher and to discern and to connect with that divine problem-solving intelligence and follow our instincts and choose what we want next and be excited and happy until it shows up in our reality, and then it's the next thing. Money, car, relationship, health, well-being. So we have to begin to ask ourselves, what do we believe and why do we believe it? And is it still true for us? Is it really ours? Do we want to hold on to it any longer to justify how hurt we've become or how in pain we have been? Understandably, we've all been through a lot. Some have been through unimaginable circumstances, but you have the choice every single day of whether that is going to be what you project out and attract back into your experience or not. And you can break that loop by understanding what your subconscious mind is doing to protect you and changing that. That's the beauty of hypnotherapy. So we learn how to not focus on what is and focus on what we want. We learn how to be excited about it and anticipate it. We learn how to work with our subconscious and superconscious mind every day consciously so that things that are coming in, we start to understand, oh, I know why that showed up. That showed up because I was thinking this and I was thinking this and I was thinking this. And then more fills in that you weren't even thinking about because your subconscious mind knows everything you want. Everything that you want. And it starts to come in such beautiful and magical ways that the experiences are exhilarating. The experiences are positive and joyful, and you can thrive while the rest of the world around you looks like it isn't. So, I have a little story that I want to tell you because it was just such a sweet story, and it's a Barbara story, so it's a lovely story. We were out driving the other day. We decided we were going to go for a walk, and our home is up for sale. And we were driving to go to a bike path that we like to walk on, and on the drive, our Jeep started rattling and making all this really bad noise. And I said to Greg, let's turn around, let's go home. Something's off with the Jeep and I don't want to be stranded somewhere. So let's just turn around and go home. The moment we turned around to go home, the noise stopped. And this was like rattly drive shaft, something's going to fall off the Jeep kind of noise. So we drove home and it stopped completely. We got in the house. And about 20 minutes later, a realtor with a couple to see our house showed up on the wrong night. They were supposed to come the next night. Now, had we gone to the bike path, they would have showed up at our house and gone in, and it was not, we had stuff on the kitchen counter, I had things in the bathroom, we had towels hanging up. It wasn't show ready. And I knew immediately that happened as assistance, because I work with a goal every day about our house, and there's so much happening there, but I'm going to save that because it's sweet and it's magical, and I'll tell it later when all the other pieces are in. Right now, half the pieces are in, so I'm not going to talk about it. But this story, the moment that I clicked in, wait a minute, that was structured so that we would turn around and go back home, I saw Barbara's face. And I saw her face light up, and I heard that giggle I miss every day. And I thought, Barbara, that was you. Thank you. She's always helping us. She's always there. And I always know when it's her because I hear that giggle. I just see her face in my mind's eye. Isn't it amazing to know that when you are not in a negative belief loop, in a negative pattern, that you have help? And it's fun and it's sweet. And as much as it makes my heart hurt just a little bit, I'm on the other side of that now, where I can play with that, and I can appreciate that, and I can love that. And that was the sweetest moment. So we were able to say to them, sorry, but we're not show ready. They could go see another property, and then they could circle back, which gave us enough time to clean up, and they could come back in a half an hour, and it all worked out fine. But this is what I mean about being in cooperation. Your subconscious mind, your superconscious mind, when you are open, when you are connected, when you're living in the positive, creating what you want, things flow. Things flow to you and through you. You are a conduit, right? You are a focal point of divine problem-solving intelligence. It's flowing to you all the time. But are you letting it in? Do you believe you deserve it? Are you excited about what comes next? Are you consciously working on what you want next? Because if you just think it's all random and you have sort of an idea, and then whatever shows up, you justify it by saying it's because of this or because of that, you're not using everything that you were born into this experience to utilize. And that's what I want you to think about. That is the intrinsic difference between self-sabotage and success. It starts with your belief systems and where they come from, and actively changing them and believing in yourself and your own worth and deservability to be living everything that you want to be living. And if you are not, why not? Is your life really so busy and important that out of 16 hours a day, you can't dedicate more time and focus to what you really want and step away from what you don't want? It's up to you. You have more power in you than you will ever acquire listening to the news, talking to colleagues, grouping together. Now, I'm not saying don't get out there and be an activist, but be an activist for the positive and be focused on what you want to bring in and draw those resources to you. Have those $1 million ideas. Get out there and build those companies. Do the things that you love to do and bring that contribution to the world, because you did not come here just to suffer. You did not come here to try and say that, you're a sacrifice for everyone else in order to make things better. I do not agree with that. And that may offend some empaths in the room, and I mean it with the utmost respect, but you have a sensitivity, but you can use it for what you want, to create what you want. And every time something drops in, you'll say, I did that. I know where that came from. I know what I was thinking about that. And you can give it a timeline. Your subconscious mind is your most powerful ally. I will never stop saying that. It is all up to you how you want to use it. Do you want to continue to live sabotage, or do you want to live success? And what does success mean for you? Isn't it fun to know that it's all within reach? It has nothing to do with anybody else, and it's all about you. So if I can help you work with that, with your health, with your relationships, with your self-beliefs, with your ability to thrive, I am here for you, and I would love to have a chat with you. I offer free 30-minute consults on my website, megadamsonhypnotherapy.com. I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your show. Thank you again for having me, for opening up your hearts, your living rooms, and being here for this incredible show that does all of this work around the planet and offers so much content completely free of charge. It is an honor to be here and to be a part of this. Thank you, and I'll see you next month. Back to you in the studio.